Once again, please let me apologize for any really loud background noise. Let me apologize for any loud background noise. I know that I focus on my mother a lot here, but let's be clear that the architects, the main architects of that have kicked off a lot of this are my parents, together, even though they're divorced, but together. That's okay. I never wanted them to be divorced in the first place. So I'll begin by saying that this may be due to my mother's influence, but there is kind of a reverse Oedipus complex between my father and I. Reverse Oedipus complex. As far as my father's involvement with his campaign, I guess I should have been alerted at my graduation when he challenged my achievement by letting me know he took similar classes as me and knew as much as me, basically trying to take any power away from my achievement for some reason. I was on the honor roll, and well, hell, he supported me through this, through the beginning of all this, through my junior college, and well, I wasn't trying to fight with him at my graduation, which is strange because he started to make a very intense argument with me at this graduation dinner about Sophie, which has always been very interesting too. So my father always seemed to struggle when he was in the Army. I am quite certain that he was just trying to excel, but we all felt the stress as he was working towards his next pay grade. When he retired, he bought a log splitter as a possible next endeavor for a business. He also spoke of tow truck driving, buying a couple of tow trucks and starting a little tow truck company. One interesting thing about his behavior during this campaign is his sort of sickening need to let everyone know he is ex-military and unbecomingly needing their "thanks for your service" comments. It really tarnishes his 24 years of service that we all felt along with him. As an aside, there has been many events of threats from military members threatening me. The most memorable being in Colorado Springs when I was working for a Craigslist gig for Trey, doing landscaping, I think it was at a Mavericks. And one of the people that worked there, a total stranger to me, took time to let me know that he was an ex-Army sniper and that he has no problem sitting in a tree for 3 days to eliminate someone. Very strange stuff. To be clear, I have attempted to contact the Department of the Army to ensure my records have not been altered, the way my medical records have been altered by Carmen and most likely orthopedic surgeon Dr. Suma from Dr. James Cohat's office over there in Santa Cruz. To be certain, as a retired information management individual in the Army, he would do backflips to work with any intelligence firm in the Monterey Bay area. The Monterey Bay area is the West Coast version of kind of like a Quantico and more. Not just for, not like Quantico's just FBI. If you know anything about any of the big think tanks that deal with global war and things of that nature, they all come, most of them come out of Monterey. Anyway, although I had a pretty good clue that he was part of this campaign for a long while now, it wasn't until about 2 months after the fire that it was clear to me that he is definitely one of the architects of this whole mess. We met in the parking lot of a Home Depot in Marina, California. It was the first face-to-face meeting that I had with him since the fire, and we hardly had any conversation since the fire. I think I let him know about the fire, then I went off to take care of my business, and I really didn't expect much from them anyway. But at the same time, this would be our first conversation. I expressed to him my concerns about the house fire. And and that I have some work to do about that. And he looks me straight in the eyes and says, has anyone contacted you about it? If not, then don't worry about it. I was absolutely flabbergasted. This man who, we can get into it about how I don't understand why he would have said anything like that. Since then, I have documented many times him saying the same thing to him in different time periods. And so that would have been in 2016. So I have documentation, recordings of him saying the same thing many times. My biggest concern out of all of this is the fact that we were going to be murdered, Atreyu and I, and just as equal, not second, but just as equal is that house. I don't leave places in worse shape afterwards. I leave places in better shape. And I know that there may be some incidents since 2000 and since this fire that some people would like to say that I've done things like this, but you got to understand, when somebody's lying to you and asking for you to basically dump it onto their porch, well, I did that. But these are people that intentions are, whatever their intentions are, I don't care what they are, but I can tell they're not true. But I'm responsible for that house. And the more that I learn, it's very interesting how it is turning out that it wasn't just this individual that sabotaged the situation and almost killed me and my dog, but that it was a group effort. Like I said, I didn't realize there's a campaign against me until later. As an additional note, it's important to mention that his girlfriend, my father's girlfriend, Elizabeth Harris, that his son Sean is a retired United States Air Force, I'm going to use the terminology spook, but he was working in U.S. Air Force intelligence also, and he's apparently got a job after he retired from that position with the Air Force, with a private firm that does similar work. And it's something that I often thought about even before the fire, when I was having a lot of situations with my electronic devices obviously being hacked and intruded upon, and wondering if in fact somehow or another they were in on this even then. As I say, those are just my thoughts at those times. It does seems very likely that that's what was happening. I cannot be certain if it was Sean that was part of that, but there's no doubt that my electronic devices and all of that had definitely been hacked. They had definitely been intruded upon. And it's important also to mention Thomas from the University of California, Santa Cruz, who I was getting assistance with because I was like, there's something wrong with my computer. And he said he could help me, and I gave him my computer, and it took about 3 weeks to get him back. And he could never explain why it took so long. And when I got the computer back, he said there was nothing wrong with it. So that's interesting. But it was about August of 2019. I'm staying at a place in Mack, Colorado, where it's quite apparent that was all a setup also. And that he contacted me and let me know that he wanted to come pick me up and bring me back to California. You know, I've always forgiven my family for everything they've ever done, which kind of makes it easy, I guess, for them to have convinced a lot of people the things that they've convinced them about. But the fact of the matter is nobody has spoken to me. nobody has allowed me to open up the doors to let them know exactly who it is they're getting their information from, which is vitally important. When you consider how weak the investigative powers of these police and these FBI agents and everyone else are currently, and I'll bring up the recent Idaho college murder and how nobody seems to know anything, which is, it's just nearly impossible. But what it shows is a weakness in law enforcement and the FBI in basically relying on the community to do their police work for them. I can also bring up Uvalde if you need solid proof on not just inaction of the police, but how they'll lie through their teeth when we all see the videos of them cleaning their hands with hand sanitizer, waiting around in that hallway while there's gunfire going off and children being murdered. I shouldn't have to say any more from that. I did leave my truck there at the Mack, Colorado location. I consider that truck to be full of evidence and evidence itself. And I brought a bunch of evidence, as much of evidence as I could with me from that truck, which is stored in my father's house, supposedly under a, I've never been to his house, interestingly enough. But, and more important, here's a very important fact also. Somehow or another, all of my University of California, Santa Cruz information was changed and sent to his address. I need you to understand, I never knew my father's address to this house. I know the address to the house in California, in Salinas and in Monterey, but I have no clue of his address until more recently there in Sacramento or in Roseville, or it's I think Roseville, right next to Roseville and all that. So however it is that all of a sudden everything related with my life was being sent to his address is very interesting to me. I consider that truck and the evidence that I left with him that he stored at his house very important to show what it is that these people have been up to. But this is all about him picking me up. Sorry for the background noise. Picking me up from Mack, Colorado. And as I say, I'm just playing along with these people. I'm just gaining evidence. I'm learning what these programs are all about. How it could lead to someone setting your house on fire and a whole community of people coming down on you based on false narratives. And it was just amazing to see my father completely blow the whole situation. When my father came in to pick me up, I was so excited to see him. Regardless of all this stuff, he's my father. I love my dad. So I was very happy to see him, regardless of all this stuff. I live in the moment, and I was happy to see him. And he was shaking like a leaf. The people that I was staying with had guests there, other family members, which I can go into many, many stories, but I'll do that at another time about what happened on that property, how my life was threatened every single day. And quite honestly, if any place I could have been extinguished, it could have been there without a problem. Nobody knew I was there. And but the thing is, I believe without a doubt that these strong Mormons that were doing whatever it was that they were being directed to do couldn't bring themselves to do what was kind of expected of them. How could they? They understood that there's something wrong with this whole story. Everyone else should too. Most, especially these investigators. And good Lord, it's just unbelievable how impotent these law enforcement have become. Absolutely useless. And not just that, they make up crimes rather than actually preventing or investigating them. But anyway, while the family that was hosting me and the guests, which is their not extended family, their direct family also, are trying to talk with him and trying to make a nice landing for the whole situation, My father is shaking like a leaf, just absolutely nervous out of his mind, as he should be, But he absolutely blew the whole damn thing. They wouldn't even come around him after they could see that he was blowing the whole trip. He was exposing the whole situation. Now, I know it may seem like a short period of time that I've spoke about this pickup of me in Colorado, but I need you to understand that my father, basically a beta, suffering from this Oedipus complex, kind of reverse Oedipus complex, trying to, he's worked with this big campaign and inspired many, many people to do a lot of really terrible things, that he would blow it in what should be a pivotal and important portion of his part of this whole campaign. But he blew it then, and he's gonna blow it when I expose him in front of all these investigators too. Everyone should know, I ain't hiding from nothing. I ain't running from nothing. I'm investigating a fire at my house that tried to kill me. I'm investigating how it is that all of a sudden people were burglarizing my house and setting things up in a way to destroy my business when I was doing nothing but working my ass off and holding to a very strong, for a very long time, very strong ethic until I couldn't anymore. Until everything was destroyed by this campaign of these individuals that I believe started out with criminal individuals and then crossed over into the law enforcement sphere, either through Carmen Sue, when she made the direct threat to me about Todd Liberty, or through my father's contacts before then. Remember, if you'd like to get somebody investigated, and when I say this, don't do this, unless, of course, they actually have done something. But if you want to get somebody investigated, then just tell authorities that they're a child molester. That's all you got to do. They're a pedophile. I fucked my sister. I did not fuck my sister. I didn't do any of those kind of goddamn things. But, and I should also make it clear that it's not really, as much as everybody thinks that I'm suffering now, this isn't much different than living under the roof with my dad and my mom. That was fucking hell. This is a vacation compared to that. But the point of this is that my father, he's not going to be able to hold it together, without a doubt. And not just that, as careful as he is about all of his note-taking and everything else, I'm counting on all that. I'm counting on all the documentation that everyone else can do as much as possible. Because even if all of my documentation is lost, anyone who does any kind of research on the trail that I have left and the trail that is absolutely existent from all of these different actors that have been involved in this, then it's going to be obvious what it is that's going on here. It's a complete campaign, fishing expedition, witch hunt, whatever you want to call it. The destruction of a good American sovereignty, all because I have a family who couldn't stand that I had gotten off of drugs and had some success. Which is really weird because I've always had success, but being on drugs is their way of saying, well, this is a weak individual. There's nothing weak about me. Not a damn thing. Not a lick. Nothing. I've held it together and I've done what I've needed to do and will keep doing what I need to do to expose an unbelievably corrupt program inspired by hysteria and stories, just like the Manhattan Beach preschool trial. 12 years, the most expensive trial in the country, and it was all, and I don't want to harp on the woman that created this situation. She was having a psychotic break, but it's the dumbass law enforcement that can't tell the difference or vet their information And this is going to become apparent too when I start to expose all of these individuals that they've apparently used to lay out some sort of a false narrative against me. When they all have records. I mean, I know all of these people. I'm attracted to these kind of people because I was raised in a sociopathic environment. I don't want to become any of them. Same reason why I always have so much knowledge about serial killers. I don't want to become a serial killer. I don't hold any of them in high regard. My interest is in how it is they became as sick as they have become. I've had that interest since I was a child. And it's not because I love serial killers.